pleased, including the district mayor, the local mayors, because we launched this in Lusikisiki in the municipality called Inguza Hill. So even the local mayor of that municipality was quite excited. The ministers, there were so many of us who had come there, not only come as spectators, but come to say from our national sphere of government as the various departments or ministers leading departments, what is the intervention and actual projects we will be rolling out in that area of our Tambo district. So we, of course, also the Premier with his minister, with his MECs, saying, as the province, what are these projects that they'll be rolling out to this area? And of course, as the President formally launched the model, the President then spoke to all these projects that have been brought together from national, provincial, and local that will focus in that area called OR Tambo. We are quite confident that from here we must then build the structure that will comprise of all these 3 spheres, working, of course, with COCTA. Build a hub there that will take forward all these projects, the implementation of these projects that national and provincial spoke to on Tuesday. And again, as we all know, this is just the start. Our Tambo district is just the start. This model, the last time we were here, we said district-based service delivery model. We have changed it for very good reasons, that it's a district-based development model, because it is meant to effect development. It is meant to bring everybody, our communities. That's why the hub, the structure, the Kauleza Forum that we will create there will be consisted of our communities, NGOs, CBOs, business, because we need to crowd business as well and understand from business side what is it that they'll be doing there in terms of their own project, privately funded projects. For now, what we have are our own government-funded projects in the next 5 years. So we'll crowd in government, we'll crowd in business, we'll crowd in labor, so that this development is then participatory. Everybody is part of what will happen there. There are no spectators, we all participate in making OR Tambo the best district that it can be. I'm just dreaming, where will OR Tambo be in 10 years' time? I think it will be a wonderful place. We would have also, in 10 years' time, we'll also have sorted out the Mthembu Dam, by the way. We would have sorted that one out as well. The N2, we would have sorted out the N2 in 10. And I'm quite confident that probably Mthatha will be a metro. Probably. No, I'm just, you can go and read the speech of the president. But working together, all of us having joined up government, will then be able to even deal with inefficiencies that from time to time crop up in the system, and also give the necessary capability using provincial and national human resource, to do what the region or the district and the local municipality could not do because they do not have certain skills, engineering, etc. So we're quite excited. That's one thing that we did this week, launched the OR Tambo District Development Model. Also, as we were there, you'll know that the president also launched the Lusikisiki Village Clinic, which is NHI ready. They also took a tour of that clinic. We are seeing now, in our lifetime, steps that are being taken to ensure that all our people, even in the rural areas like Lusikisiki, have access to quality healthcare. So we are quite excited. Also, the president, as you will know, he had a dialogue in the area, OR Tambo, particularly in the Lusikisiki area, where a number of constituencies came in, almost about that dialogue, I think over 1,000 or so people were in attendance, on gender-based violence. Again, the president, on the spot, said that we must at least established more Tutuzela centers there in OR Tambo, because there are very few. He also said, I didn't know this, that in the entire Eastern Cape province, there is no laboratory for DNA testing. Entire Eastern Cape, as the president said yesterday. On the spot, the president said that we must establish a DNA testing laboratory in the Eastern Cape, so that they don't rely for DNA testing on the Western Cape or KZN. We must have a laboratory there. So that's what we did this week in OR Tambo, and again the cabinet really appreciated work that happened there. The second matter that we want to speak to is the fight against gender-based violence. It's a matter that again occupied the cabinet space yesterday. And the statement says that cabinet again joins President Cyril Ramaphosa in his call for all South Africans to work together to stop the violence and the killing of women and children, particularly girl children. As we all know, yesterday in a joint sitting of Parliament, the President tabled emergency measures to combat gender-based violence and ensure enhancement of the implementation of the outcomes of the 2018 Presidential Summit on Gender-Based Violence. As we all know, I'll just touch on a few. The measures that the President announced, amongst others, includes introducing in the school curriculum gender-based violence, so that at a young age, our young boys in particular, if they can't be nurtured at home, they start interacting with this subject matter at school. But also the President spoke to legislative measures that we need to bring to Parliament to curb this phenomenon of gender-based violence. Again, urgent training of everybody involved in this, including police that are involved in this, your prosecutors, your magistrates, the judges. So that is the urgency that the President has put, that in these 6 months of this financial year, we must have done these things, including strengthening our criminal justice system to respond appropriately to gender-based violence. We can do all these things. But if those who are made up like me, men, don't own up and stand up to protect our women, if men don't look at themselves in the mirror and say, not in our name, government and civil society can do everything. But unless men change, I don't know what makes us so much of animals. I don't know what makes us beasts. So we need a change in the manner men relate and look at women. So even the men's organizations that are in the country should start looking into this issue. What do we do with men? What do we do to change this very disturbing actions of men raping, abusing, and killing women? What should we do with an focus and emphasis on men in particular, who are basically the perpetrators? And the president was correct yesterday when he said, if we don't rise up and deal with this issue, definitely our country will be going down the drain. We therefore must just deal with this issue. I had the privilege of meeting this young lady in the Eastern Cape during these activities that we were speaking to. In fact, it was during the dialogue on gender-based violence in Lusikisiki. She is from that area, Zuko, who was raped by her father from the age of 7 until she was 13. What type of men do these things? I think we have our work cut out as men to stop this. We have our work cut out to go everywhere and speak to other men, wherever they are, in shebeens, in the workplaces, to stop this violation of women's rights in our country. Of course, this initiative and emergency measures that the president spoke to last night or yesterday will be undertaken by the Gender-Based Steering Committee, which will be located in the Presidency, comprising not only government, but also civil society structures, to see implementation of everything that the president spoke to yesterday. So we must have a structure that will be seized with implementation. You will also remember that is that structure that was also created by the summit in 2018. We are also pleased that the president also announced that resources will be made available to ensure that all these measures are implemented. We as Cabinet also call on all communities to continue playing their part in mentoring and nurturing boy children to have empathy and respect for women and girls. Somebody, a friend of mine that I met at the WEF from another country, I won't say which country it is, he said, you guys, you have got such beautiful women. I thought you'll be fighting amongst yourselves over these women, but you kill them. You. We hope these measures, and all of us, and of course, as we talk about this, also yesterday morning, early in the morning at 7:30, the president met with all leaders of parties represented in parliament. All of them, without exception, were there. And all of them agreed that this must stop. All of us must bring an end to the abuse, the rape, and the killing of our women. So we are happy that even in the debate yesterday, there was agreement by all parties. Of course, there'll be emphasis there and there, but all parties agree that we must just stop violence against our women. We must. The third issue that the Cabinet also discussed, you'll forgive me about emotions that pour in. As we talk about women. Because many of us also have daughters. As we talk about killing of Uyinene and other young girls and women, it touches a raw nerve to some of us, because we're just human. We are fathers. Deputy Chief Justice Zondo that, of course, they might be in a minority, but they still do a lot of harm to us as men. So we must go out there and do whatever we can and stop this violence and killings of our women. The third item that we looked at was the violent attacks on foreign nationals and fellow South Africans, which has reared again its ugly head in our country. Cabinet again condemned the public violence and lawlessness that accompanied any real or imagined grievances of our people. We remain a constitutional democracy governed by the rule of law. Whilst Cabinet might have an understanding of the socio-economic challenges faced by our communities in the country, it nevertheless emphasized that intolerance and violence towards foreign nationals and other South Africans should not and will not be tolerated. You know, we welcome everybody in this country, particularly everybody who enters the country legally, and everybody who, after entering the country as a foreign national, also abide by the laws of our country. All those are very welcome. Equally, we remain a country united in our diversity, and any form of animosity aimed at our fellow African brothers and sisters will definitely not be tolerated. And to this extent, we would like to thank our policemen and women who have arrested quite a lot of people, who have brought disgrace to the name of our country. Cabinet is determined to decisively address the underlying causes that normally lead to attacks on foreign nationals and also fellow South Africans. We also, in the same vein, will deal decisively with illegal activities such as drug peddling, illicit trading, looting of people's shops, as well as destruction of property and corruption without any fear or favor, immaterial whether the perpetrator or whether such criminality is perpetrated by a South African or a foreign national. So as far as the perpetration of criminality is concerned, we say our law must take its course, immaterial who's involved, whether those that are involved are South Africans or whether those that are involved are foreign nationals. Cabinet has also condemned the exploitation of foreign nationals by some companies. As we will know, because they are vulnerable, they then get exploited and paid all sorts of slave wages by some companies. We therefore call on all communities to actively work with all our community structures, including the CPFs and our South African Police Service, to address this violence against foreign nationals and against fellow South Africans. Also to report any crime and illegal activities to our police service. We are also happy that the Border Management Agency bill that is before the National Council of Provinces will be concluded soon. As everybody has said, one of the contributing factors to people entering our borders without the necessary permits is that our borders are porous. So we believe that the Border Management Agency will go a long way in averting entry by illegals into our country. The President has, as we all know, in addition to all these measures, dispatched a team of special envoys to several African countries to reassure fellow Africans that our country is committed to the ideals of Pan-African unity and solidarity, including South Africa's commitment to the rule of law and protection of the human rights of all within our borders. The President has also, as we heard yesterday, appointed an eminent team of fact-finding commission consisting of the former President of Tanzania, Mr. Kikwete, and the former President of Mozambique, Mr. Chisano. They will interact with various groupings within our country with the view of establishing the facts surrounding the violent attacks against foreign nationals and locals. And of course, as we have heard, these attacks have also been referred to as xenophobia and or Afrophobia. The findings of this commission will be shared with the African Union and, importantly, will assist us as a country in dealing with this recurrence of violent attacks on both foreign nationals and our own citizens. The fourth item that we are speaking to is attack on councillors' houses. Cabinet condemns in the strongest terms the burning down of the houses belonging to the city of Matlosana councillors in the province of the Northwest. Again, we want to repeat that there is no place of such behavior in our young democracy. Cabinet calls on the South African Police Service to do what it takes to arrest the perpetrators of this heinous crime. That the law-abiding citizens of Matlosana work with the law enforcement agencies to assist in apprehending the perpetrators. As South Africans, let us take a stand in condemning lawlessness in our respective communities. Our democracy has legislative systems in place for anyone to elect or remove any public representative without resorting to violence. We therefore need to rise to protect our heart-earned democracy. Cabinet appeals to the public to take a stand against such criminality and to come forward with any information that will assist law enforcement authorities with their investigations. South Africa is a democracy, and perpetrators of violence in whatever form, again, under whatever justification, these perpetrators must own up to their consequences or to the consequences of their actions by facing the full might of the law. Cabinet also took some decisions. The first decision that Cabinet took, it approved the release of the 25-year review report of South Africa. I know that many of us have been referring to this report even long before it was published. It will now be published. It assesses our achievements and non-achievements and challenges from 1994 to 2019. The 25-year review, of course, without going into the details, it acknowledges strides that we have made in the country, particularly around social protection, social security. But it also, at the same time, acknowledges that we have serious structural issues. So we hope that after President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched this 25-year review report, which will be very soon, in due course, in the very same month we are in September, we hope that all of us will read this report with an aim of contributing meaningfully to how best do we change the fault lines that have continued to be with us for many, many years. But also, we will read this report to consolidate the wonderful achievements we have made in the areas of social protection. The other decision that the Cabinet took was the approval of the South African 2019 Sustainable Development Goals Country Report to the United Nations. As we all know, we need to deposit our report on how are we doing as it relates to the Sustainable Development Goals in our country. We will deposit that report at the SDG Summit during the 74th United Nations General Assembly session starting next week in America. So we will deposit our report there because we need to report to the United Nations to what extent are we taking heed of these 17 Sustainable Development Goals as instructed by the United Nations. Our report speaks to how far have we gone in implementing the SDGs. Of course, we all know that we have not only implemented the SDGs, but we also have an NDP. We have even domesticated the SDGs into our own National Development Plan. After we have deposited the country report on the SDGs, the United Nations will then make available the report and also other countries' reports through their website. The other decision that Cabinet took was the approval of the South Africa's fourth national report on the implementation of the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. The report will be, after this approval, will be submitted to the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity by the 1st of October 2019. The Cartagena Protocol governs the movement of living modified organisms, also known as genetically modified organisms, GMOs, within and without the country and other countries. South Africa is fully compliant with the provisions of the Cartagena Protocols. The country's biosafety regulatory framework regulates the inbound or outbound GMO products. South Africa also contributes towards the training for all users of GMOs in the country and neighboring countries. So at least we have that report that will also table with the relevant international structure. The fourth item that Cabinet also took a decision on, Cabinet has approved the revised sanitary dignity implementation framework. The implementation of this framework gives effect to the constitutional right to dignity and a right to life to women and girls from indigent families. The Sanitary Dignity Implementation Framework guides 25 rands coin in fine silver. You will read this on your own. I'm not a specialty on coins. On upcoming events this month, we are celebrating Transport Month, and Cabinet has approved the plans that the Minister and the Department has put towards action or plan of action and 365-day campaign under the theme Together, let's keep the service delivery momentum going and grow the economy. As we all know, the safety of our roads warrants a 365 days conversation and continuous conscientization of all road users, both drivers and pedestrians. There's big terminology here. The campaign will also highlight government interventions to improve the country's transport system, the planned infrastructure investments, and the responsibility of the public to protect public infrastructure. So indeed, the plan by the National Department for the October month, Transport Month, has been approved by Cabinet. Under condolences, Cabinet sent its condolences to our family, to the family and friends of our Deputy Minister, Ms. Bavelile Hlongwa, who tragically lost her life in a motor vehicle accident, as well as to the families of the 4 people who died on the scene while attempting to assist other passengers that were involved in an accident. Cabinet also passes its condolences to the people of Zimbabwe at the loss of their former president, Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Under President Mugabe's leadership, Zimbabwe sustained and were part of the valiant struggle against colonialism, inspired, and again this struggle against colonialism of the Zimbabweans inspired our own struggle against apartheid and gave us the hope that South Africa too would be free. Cabinet has also expressed its condolences to the family, friends of our former Springbok icon Chester Williams, who earned national and international acclaim with his contribution to South Africa's triumph in the historic 1995 Rugby World Cup. His exploits on the field of play gave flight to the aspirations and dreams of generations of young people. President Cyril Ramaphosa honored the late rugby hero with the declaration of a special provincial official funeral. Again, Cabinet has passed and expressed its condolences to the family and friends of the late former Robben Island prisoner and Western Cape veteran Vincent Diba. Again, also President Ramaphosa declared a special provincial funeral for our veteran. Again, Cabinet has expressed its condolences to the friends and family of anti-apartheid activist Adelaine Hayne, mother of senior British politician Lord Hayne, who passed away at the age of 92. Mama Adelaide Hayne made her mark in defying apartheid and assisting oppressed communities, a commitment which saw the apartheid state banning her and later her husband, Walter, before forcing them into exile in the United Kingdom. We all join as cabinet, all South Africans and the people of the continent, in congratulating the Mthembu Youth Choir for having reached the finals on America's Got Talent competition. I thought they were going to win, but even without winning, the mere fact that they remained top of the class in that competition means a lot for us as South Africans and for us as a continent. The choir has been doing the nation and continent proud throughout this competition. The second congratulations from Cabinet goes to Uratilwe A.J. Hlongwane, better known as DJ Ark Jr., who won South Africa's Got Talent in 2015 when he was only 3 years old. The Guinness World Records officially named him as the world's youngest DJ in 2017. He has been invited to perform in several countries and is holding the South African flag high with his amazing performance in the show Britain's Got Talent, the champions. We wish him everything of the best. Colleagues, thank you very much. And again, sorry for my disturbance earlier.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you. Thank you. At this point, we will take questions of clarification. Hatfield.